Hello, and welcome to the Vegas Voices Women's World. I'm your host, Sandy Davis, and today I'm going to be talking with Rana Goodman about guardianship. But before we begin, I actually went to Webster's Dictionary to see what a guardian is. A guardian is defined as one who is entitled or legally appointed to the care and management of a person or the property of another person. And a guardian ad litem is a guardian that's appointed by a court in a particular lawsuit to represent the interests of a minor, a person not yet born, or a person judged incompetent. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. So let's welcome Rana Goodman. Hi, Rana. Welcome to the Vegas Voice Women's World.
Hi, Sandy. It's good to be here.
Great. What we're going to be talking about today is Rana's role in the involvement of looking into the illegal activities and some of the just nastiness that happened around guardianship in Nevada. So, Rana, why don't you tell us a little bit about your involvement with that?
Okay. Basically, it started when I found out accidentally that there was a law in Nevada that said if you want to have a guardian of your mother, your sister, whomever, and they live out of state, they could not be a guardian, which seemed to me the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard.
So even if they're entitled, like when I looked all this up too, it said, you know, you could be a parent or someone else or a sister. You were entitled to be a guardian, but you're saying that doesn't exist
in our state. When we began, and it's been changed now, and I'll explain how that happened. But when we first found out about it, it said if the guardian, you could not be a guardian if you were not a resident of the state of Nevada. Okay. Didn't matter who you were or how closely you were related. And that's how basically the private guardianship industry got started here. So the first thing that I did was invite two of my friends to lunch who were in not the Senate, they were Assembly, okay? And I told her, I says, where does your daughter live? And she said, California. And I says, well, then did you know that if you want her to be your guardian, should anything happen and you need one, she can't be it because she's not in our state. I said, we need to change that law. And I got them going on it. In fact, Victoria Seaman was one who is still, now she's on city council, I believe. But she was a tremendous help to us during that time when we wanted that law to be changed. And what I did after that point, we started talking about it in the Vegas Voice, and that, of course, got all the seniors interested, and then they'd start responding, well, what do you mean, you know? So Dan and I started doing seminars all over the Valley. And anybody that would have us, we would go and do it and talk to people and tell them exactly what was happening in the guardianship industry here. And it was interesting that you brought up guardians ad litem, because the way the system worked is really a cute little scam. They had a hearing master, still sitting on the bench, called John Norheim. And what he did in one particular instance, there was a gentleman that was a neighbor of mine. His wife had passed away. He was a World War II vet, confined to a wheelchair. And the daughter lived in California, used to call them every day, or once a week, something like that. And finally, she told me that she had called almost 2 weeks in a row trying to find her mom, talk to her mom. No answer. So finally, she got hold of a neighbor, and the neighbor said, your mom passed away about 2 weeks ago. And nobody notified her. So she says, well, okay, where's my dad? Is he at the house? And they says, I don't know, you need to call the coroner's office. So she called the coroner's office, who then told her that a guardian had been appointed for the father. And that particular guardian was a man by the name of Jared Schaefer, who basically started this whole scam in this state with guardianship. So at his hearing, which is on YouTube, his name was Guadalupe Alvera, and it's on YouTube still to this day. He was in a court with the judge, or hearing master as they called him, and he kept saying, I don't want a guardian, I don't need a guardian, I want to go to California and live with my daughter. And she was in court at the time. And he kept repeating this, that he wanted to go to California. So Norheim said, okay, what we're going to do, I understand what you're saying, I want to work with you, but I'm going to have you go talk to our guardian ad litem in a private room at the back, and then you come back and she'll tell us what she thinks should be done.
Wait, so she made the decision?
She made the decision. No, I didn't make a decision. The hearing master makes a decision, but here's what she did. After talking to him for several minutes, They both come back in, and she tells the judge that he said he didn't want to embarrass his daughter because she was sitting in the courtroom, but he really didn't want to go to California. Well, that's not what he said, and he said it in open court. And it took, I don't remember exactly how long it was, but she then told Schaefer that she wanted to meet with him. She wanted to discuss what arrangements were being made with her father and everything else. And he made it very clear to her at their private meeting that the courts listened to him and he was going to do what he felt was best for the dad. But don't worry about it. So she went to the home to say goodbye to her dad, to sit with him for a while. And while the caregiver was sleeping that evening, she took her dad, put him in the car, and zoom, they took off for California. Only one that has ever done that in this state and got away with it. It took her a while. California gave her a ruling, put the guardianship aside, and gave her guardianship of him in California. And Schaefer went a couple of years, I think it was, fighting her on it, until finally her father passed away, but he passed away a free man in her home. So that's so much for guardians ad litem on this whole thing.
It could have happened, too, that she could have been charged with kidnapping.
Right, they had threatened that. The lucky thing was she had the backing of California backing her up.
Wow. That's an amazing story.
Yeah,
I'm sure there are more out there that are exactly like
Oh,
this.
yeah, there are dozens.
You mentioned you did seminars. Do you and Dan still go out and do seminars?
If we are requested to, we don't charge for it. We just go and we do it.
So you usually do it at
A senior
center.
usually a senior facility, library, or any of the clubhouses where they ask us to come and speak.
And are any of them online that someone could watch it, like on YouTube or something?
Not that I'm aware of on the seminars, but we participated in a documentary called The Guardian, which is available on Amazon. And that gives you a very good picture of what these guardians can get away with, because it's all factual. It's not a made-up movie or anything. It's all the truth.
It's all the truth.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Are other states similar to Nevada? I'm not sure if you know the answer to that.
Some are. We went to Florida, Palm Beach County, and spoke with them. And it seems to be, it follows a pattern. Warm weather states most of all, because that's where seniors go.
Majority.
Yeah, seniors will flood to Florida, Arizona, Nevada, places that are warm. That's where they're going to want to be, away from the snow and all of that. So in those places, they have weird laws.
I think that's the really important thing to note here. And you said the laws changed.
Some of the laws we had. We changed the law for out of state. Now a person can name a guardian. What the rule was passed in the last session of legislature, where you can fill out a guardian nomination form, file that with the Secretary of State. What they do in return is send you an ID card. So now you're carrying the ID card in your wallet. If there's an accident, if something happens where you're taken into the emergency room or something like that, you have the card from the Secretary of State's office that says you have named a guardian. And that has to be respected. Okay. Barbara Buckley, who got a law passed where there's a victim's Bill of Rights, and they keep that in the courthouse, big board like this, that says all the things that now the guardians, our prospective guardians, must do. And one of the most important, of course, is that they have to notify the family, the prospective protected person, which is, they don't call them wards anymore, they call them protected persons. They have the right to an attorney. They have the right to meet with their families anytime, because what one of the guardians was doing, the minute the family started to fight her on what she was doing with the family, she'd stop them from seeing them altogether, block them.
And she could do that?
Oh yeah, at that point in time she could do that. Now with the Bill of Rights, she cannot. So now any family can see them at any time they want. But most importantly, if the family is notified, then they can be in court and they can make their case about why they want to take care of the person. If that person hasn't already said, file the nomination form.
So what this tells me too is that it's just most people know that you should always have a will about what you want to leave to people and what's going on. Because dying without a will, dying intestate, the state takes over. So what this is telling us is that as you get older, it's a really important thing. Don't be afraid, but to do stuff to protect who you are and what your rights are and everything else. And I would say get that form. If you could repeat what they have to
Yeah, I'll
do.
repeat the form, but here's the reason that we believe every senior especially, or anybody with any health problems, should definitely file the guardianship nomination form with the Secretary of State. Because here's the one thing that most people don't realize guardians can do, and you need to be afraid, be very afraid. Do you realize that a guardian appointed by the court can take over everything you have in your life? In essence, they become you. So let's say you have the will, you have a trust, you have a safe deposit box, you have savings accounts, stocks and bonds, whatever. They just go to the court and say, okay, there's not much money left in the bank account, Your Honor, so we have to invade the trust so that I can take care of this person, because we need the funds to do that.
And this person's
And
been
it's
appointed
perfectly
by the
legal.
court,
Yes.
so they're deemed legally responsible for everything. Of
Right,
course.
exactly.
Wow, okay. So I think that's the important takeaway from this conversation, and to go online and see if you can, and watch the movie that we
Right.
talked about. The
Right, and the
documentary.
form, the guardianship nomination form is available at thevegasvoice.net. Right at the top of the homepage, you'll see a little tab that says guardianship.
Okay.
You click it and you can download the form. And all the instructions are on it, mail it in, and get it done. It's so important.
So I want to thank Rana for being with us today. And I guess it's important to note that what started her with this was just some curiosity that she had about guardianship in particular, not something dramatic. And I think that tells us all something, that maybe that's what we should be doing too. If something piques your curiosity, check into it. I want to thank you all for joining us today at Women's World of the Vegas Voice. See you next time.